Okay, so I just played in my first BT5 format tournament, and I ended up getting first place with the deck that I'm gonna show you today. So yeah, let's get into it. Oh, before I do that, roll the intro. Yo, what's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the TCG Cast channel. I'm your boy Zay, and today we have an awesome deck profile for you guys. So recently, I took this deck into my locals, and I got first place with it. Very surprising. The deck popped off when it needed to pop off, and I didn't have problems with drawing all my pieces. So let's get into it, shall we? But before I get into that, don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment down below. Tell me what you think about the deck after I finish this profile. All right, so we're gonna start off with the babies. So we play 5 babies. So we play 4 of the Sunemon. Now, basically, what Sunemon does is while this Digimon has Garurumon or Omnimon in its name, you get 1,000 power, which is fantastic. We do need to have our Garurumons or possibly Omnimons to kind of beat over certain things, or just to be beefy, to kind of have like a bigger board presence against our opponent. Then our last baby that we play is Upamon. This is a very classic uh, egg to play in blue decks. So basically, when attacking, if your opponent has a Digimon with no Digivolution sources, you get to draw a card. And you know, in all card games, you'll love to draw. So those are the eggs we play. Now let's get to the level 3s. The first level 3 we play is this Gobomon. This Gobomon has been introduced in the BT5 set, Battle of Omni, for those that don't know. And this card is fantastic. So whenever you hard play it for 3 memory, you get to reveal the top 3 cards of your deck. And then you get to add a Digimon with Garurumon in its name or Omnimon. And then all the rest of the cards get sent to the bottom of the deck. Whenever I played with this card, and every time I like hard played it, I always at least procced one of these 2. There was one time I procced 2 cards and drew them into my hand, and I was like, ooh, that's fantastic. So yes, and we play 4 of these, and these are very a necessity in the deck. Now, the next level 3 play is also Gobomon. You'll see a nice trend within this deck. So this Gobomon, basically, on play, you just get to draw a card, which is very awesome. Not only do you have a body on the board, but you also get to draw one, so you get more resources with this card, and it's fantastic. Also, can we talk about how cute that this card is? This card specifically, like this one, pretty good, but this one right here, very dope. But yes, and then we play 4. Well, for our next level 3, we play 4 Gomamon. Now, you can, if you do decide to build this deck, you can switch this out for a Lekmon, if you really want to. But they basically do the same thing. They're just 2 level 3 Digimon that cost 2 to hard play, and then they cost 0 to Digivolve, and it's fantastic. And we mainly use this card to kind of choke our opponent in the early game or mid game, depending on if they don't have a tamer that can reset their memory. And this card is fantastic. Now, the last 2 level 3s we play in this deck is Veamon. Now, this card is fantastic. So it has an inheritable skill, or once per turn, when this Digimon becomes unsuspended during your main phase, you get to draw a card. And oh man, I have had this proc so many times during the tournament. It was actually crazy. And I later on in this video, I'll show how crazy this card can be. So those are the last level 4 or level 3s we play. Now let's get to the level 4s. Now this is the bread and butter of this deck. And the card specifically, Garurumon. We play 3 of these Garurumons. This card is also introduced in BT5, and what's fantastic is whenever you Digivolve, if if this Digimon has Gobomon and its Digivolution sources, you get to gain a memory. So essentially, you can, if we have like this Gobomon on the field, for example, we can Digivolve it essentially for 1 instead of 2, which is fantastic. And then we can kind of utilize our memory in different ways after that, and we can potentially build up to a bigger Digimon. It also has an inheritable skill on all turns, and that's very key. On all turns, while this Digimon has Garurumon or Omnimon in its name, it gets 1,000 power. So even if like your opponent tries to like swing over your certain Digimon, if they think like, oh, like it's just like a, like for let's say like our level 5 is like a 6,000 power Digimon or something. If we have this Garurumon under it, it gets 7 power on all turns. So they're just like, oh, I can't swing over this. That sucks. Rolling on. So this card is very fantastic. Now our next level 4 we play in this deck, we play 2 Garurumon. You'll definitely see a pattern in this deck. So a cool thing about this Garurumon, one, it costs 4 to hard play, which is pretty good. But it has an inheritable effect, which says when attacking, if this Digimon has Garurumon in its name, you get to draw a card. And also, doesn't have a once per turn indication in this. So if you swing like multiple times with the Digimon on top of this, and it happens to be Garurumon, you get to draw a bunch of cards. This card is fantastic. This card also probably one of the MVPs of this deck. So now the next level 4 that we play, we gotta play 4 of the new blocker, Koala Mod. Now, what's cool about this Digimon is that it costs 1 to Digivolve, so we can utilize our memory in multiple ways instead of having to Digivolve for 2. And then also, the only downside about this card is that it has a 5,000 powered. It has 5,000 power, which is it's a little but we mainly play this 1 because it's a blocker, and 2 because we pay 1 to Digivolve, and then we can just kind of turbo into whatever level 5 or potentially level 6 that we have in our hand. So the last level 4 that we play in this deck is Lobomon. Now this card is a promo, and this card is fan-freaking-tastic. So whenever you Digivolve, you can Digivolve this Digimon into ancientguruman for just a memory cost of 1. The only downside about this is like afterwards, you have to delete the Digimon at the end of your turn, which it like whenever you get to ancientguruman, which I'll explain later, it's fantastic. And then also has an inheritable skill. When digivolving one of your Digimon into ancientguruman, you can reduce the Digivolution cost by 2, which is fantastic. And I'll show you guys later whenever we showcase ancientguruman. Now let's get to the level 5s. The level 5s are the most fantastic part of this deck. So the first level 5, we play 4 ancientguruman. Now, what's cool about this ancientguruman is that when attacking, if this Digimon has Garurumon in its Digivolution source, you get to unsuspend it. So potentially, if we have, let's say, this Garurumon on top, we can swing, draw a card with this Garurumon, unsuspend, and then if we really want to, swing again and draw another card. Fantastic. And then it also has an inheritable skill where while you have 8 or more cards in your hand, this Digimon gets security attack +1. And with the amount of draw power this deck has, you are 100% going to get to 8 cards pretty quickly. And then you just attack for 2 security, and then you just blow your opponent out the water, which is fantastic. Now I'm going to move this down here. because the other card that, or the only other level 5 we play in this deck is Garurumon Sagittarius mode. Now the cool thing about this, so this Digimon specifically, you can Digivolve this on top of a level 4 for 3, like with this classic level 5, or if you want to, you can Digivolve this on top of another level 5 for 1 memory. Now it sounds weird, but it's actually pretty nice. So, and it's pretty nice because of its inheritable, or sorry, for its actual skill. So on your turn, while a Digimon card with Garurumon is in the name of this Digimon's Digivolution source, you get jamming. And for those that don't know, basically, if you attack your opponent's security, you don't die to a Digimon that has more power than it. So essentially, what you would do is you would have this Garurumon out on the field, Digivolve this for 1, and then you swing, and then if you have 8 cards in your hand, you get to do 2 security attack for 2, and then you have jamming, which is fantastic. Oh, fantastic. And that's all the level 5s we play in this deck. Now, for the extra spice, let's get to the level 6s. Now, the level 6 that we play in this deck, since we're playing a Garurumon deck, for those that haven't figured out yet, we are playing this starter deck MetalGarurumon. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, this. Now, a little side note, some people in the Digimon community before this set really hated this card, but ever since this card came out in the starter decks, I loved it, and I've been waiting to put this in a deck and have this perform, and oh my goodness, it performed fantastically. So essentially what this Digimon is, so you Digivolve this on top of level 5 for 4 memory, which is a lot, but you can have, but there's different ways that you can kind of have this reduced. So, and we'll also get to that later. But it has a when attacking effect that when you attack, you unsuspend, which is fantastic. So, for example, let's say we had this Garurumon on top of this MetalGarurumon on top of this Garurumon. You would swing, then you would do 2 security attacks if you have 8 or more cards in your hand. Then you get to unsuspend, then you get to attack again. So essentially, with just 1 turn, you just took out 4 of your opponent's life. Oh yeah, by the way, unless if your opponent plays a security control deck or has some sort of recovery, you only have 5 security. So after that attack, your opponent has 1 security left, and they're in shambles. So yeah, so that is one of the level 6s that we play in this deck. Now the next one, for those that have been keeping along, we play 2 ancientguruman. Now, also a little side note, my original list for this played 3, but actually having just 2, it was not that bad because I was drawing so much to where I saw both of these in almost every game. So let's talk about this card. So this card, you can Digivolve on top of a level 5 for 5 memory, which seems like a lot, but if you guys remember, if we have this lobomon out on the field and we Digivolve it on top of a level 3, we can Digivolve it on top of this for just 1 memory, which is fantastic. And then it has a when attacking effect where you may, so like whenever you attack, you may unsuspend 2 of your Digimon that have Garurumon in its name or a hybrid in its form. So the cool thing about that is, since we play Garurumons, if we happen to have this MetalGarurumon, this Garurumon, or this one, or any of our level 4 Garurumons, we're able to attack multiple times with them, which is fantastic. And it also has an on deletion effect where you may play a level 4 or lower Digimon with hybrid in its form from your hand for free. So if you happen to have your second Lobomon in hand, when this dies, you get to play this for free. And then also, I just also want to mention, if you do the effect with this Lobomon, and you digivolve it, this dies at the end. So if you happen to have another level 4, you can play it for free, which is fantastic. Now, we play one level 7 in this deck. And this level 7 is fantastic. Since this is a BT5 format deck, we gotta play the new Omnimon. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, this card is fantastic. Why? Alright, so this Omnimon, you can digivolve on top of a level 6 for 4 memory, which is fantastic because the past Omnimons, you'd have to digivolve for 6, and this one's just for 4. Ooh! Fantastic. But yeah, like I was saying, this card fantastic, and it also has a lot of effects. It has, well, 3 to be exact. So basically, when digivolving, you're able to unsuspend this Digimon. So for example, if we swung with this guy for multiple times, we can digivolve it on top of this Omnimon, use the Omnimon's effect to unsuspend for 4. Now, the also amazing thing is that it has an ability, when digivolving, you gain Blitz, which basically says this Digimon can attack when your opponent has 1 or more memory. So let's say if your opponent if you're at 1 memory and you attack with this ancientguruman, you can digivolve on top of this ancientguruman, unsuspend, give your opponent like 3 memory, then you can swing with this Digimon. That's fantastic. And then also it has like a protective skill in which on all turns, if your opponent's effect would delete this Digimon or return it to hand or to the bottom of the deck, you can prevent that by just adding the level 6 to your hand, and then you can trash this level 6, and then this will stay in play, which is fantastic. I've had that pop up multiple times, and my opponent was like, "Hey yo, why is that still there?" And I was like, "Cause it has protection." So that's all the Digimon that we play in this deck. Now, let's get into the options, which we only play one type of option. So we play 4 Hammer Spark. In any blue deck, you need to play Hammer Spark. I don't care if you're only playing 2 or 3 or 4. You need to play Hammer Spark. Why? So, for free, for 0 cost, for free, you get the gain of memory. So with this, you're able to manipulate memory. If you need to play something and you don't want to give your opponent too much memory, you can play this essentially to to play a Digimon, and then they won't have enough memory to like kind of mess you up and whatnot. Then it also has a security skill in which if your opponent checks this in security, you get the gain 2 memory. There has been multiple times that my opponent checked this in security, and then it went to my turn, and then I basically had enough stuff to win the game. This card is fantastic, and it is a necessity in this deck until we get memory boost. But that won't be for a while. Alright, so now let's get into the tamers. So the first tamer that we play is 2 Nokia Shiramine. This card is fantastic because it has 2 amazing effects that work so well in this deck. So the first one has an on play effect where whenever you hard play it, you may play a Agumon or a Gobomon from your hand without paying its memory cost. So essentially, if we just drop this for 3, we get to play this Gobomon and potentially draw a card, or we can play this Gobomon and essentially just look at the top three and get some more of our pieces, which is fantastic. Then also it has another effect in which whenever you digivolve whenever Digimon into a Garurumon, Omnimon, Greymon, in its name, you can suspend this tamer to reduce the memory cost by 1. That's fantastic. You want to know why? So essentially, this turns this into a 3 to digivolve. This turns this into a 4. It turns this into a 3. And I think, honestly, well, yeah, honestly, I really like it with paired up with this card because, like I was mentioning earlier, if we have Gobomon on the field and then we digivolve this, essentially we would digivolve. Traditionally, we would digivolve for 2, but since we have Gobomon under it, we gain a memory. Then with this Nokia, we can suspend it to gain another memory, essentially making us a free to digivolve. That is fantastic. And then we can use our memory to just do whatever we want. Oh, so fantastic. And then also, if you check this on security, you get to play it. So if you have a Goblin, so if your opponent swung, played the, and then you were able to play this, you can play a Gobomon for free, and now you have another body on board. Fantastic. Also, I should mention, for those that don't know, tamer ability stacks. So if we have like 2 of these, we can suspend this to essentially play this Omnimon for 2, this Garurumon for 2, or this ancientguruman for 3, which is fantastic. And then finally, ladies and gents, the last card that is a 100% necessity in this deck is Davis Motomiya. This card, fantastic, for 2 reasons. One, at the start of your turn, if you have 2 or less memory, you get to reset it to 3. So now we have, at the start of our turn, we have enough memory to, you know, just turbo into a bigger Digimon and potentially just create mayhem for our opponent. Then it also has an on-play effect where you look at the top 3 cards of your deck, you add 1 blue or 1 green Digimon among them from your hand, and then the rest of them goes to the bottom. So this is great because we can get more of our pieces. So essentially we don't have like a lot of searchers in this deck as a only in the form of Davis and Gobomon, and we definitely need some searchers some searchers in this deck. And then also, if you check this in security, you get to play this for free, so you get to do essentially all of its effects for free, which is fantastic. Now I'm gonna show you guys an awesome combo that you can do with this deck, so let me get that set up real quick. Okay, so I'm gonna show you guys a little cool play that I was able to do during my tournament, and it was probably one of the craziest things that I ever done in any card game that I've ever played. Okay, so my board state was I had this Gobomon on field, I had a MetalGarurumon with the Garurumon that if you have 8 or more cards in hand, you get security +1. Then I had the Garurumon, where if you attack and you have a Garurumon in your Digimon's name, you get to draw a card. Then I had the Veamon, which if you unsuspend, you get to draw a card. Then I had the Upamon, in which whenever your opponent has a Digimon with no Digivolution sources, you get to draw. So then also had the Nokia on board. Then I also had Davis. And then I had 6 cards in my hand. Alright. So then, I declared an attack. I used the effect of the Garurumon to draw a card. I used the effect of Upamon since my opponent had a Digimon that was just a blocker with no Digivolution sources. I drew another card. Then, I used the effect to unsuspend, in which the Veamon lets me draw another card. Then at that point, I was at a solid 9 cards, and I was checking for 2 security. And then I ended up living, and I was like, oh, hell yes. Okay, let's go again. So I swung, used the Garurumon to draw a card, and sadly I couldn't unsuspend, so we were hitting for 2. I still lived. I was like, cool, all right. So then I also happened to top deck this Lobomon and the ancientguruman. So what I did was I digivolved the Gobomon to a Lobomon for 2. Drew a card. Use the effect of the Lobomon to pay 1 memory to digivolve into the ancientguruman. But because I have no key on the field and this is a Garurumon, I suspended it to reduce the digivolution cost, so I was back at 1 memory, essentially making this free. So then I swung at my opponent's security. He ended up I think he let that go, which triggered another blocker, security blocker. So essentially he had 2 dudes on board. So I used the effect of the ancientguruman to unsuspend all my Garurumons. This guy is unsuspended now, so that's crazy. So then I swung with the first one. My opponent didn't have any security. He just had 2 blockers, so he had to block. Then I swung with this guy, and then he had to block. So he had no bodies on field. And then I had the Omnimon in hand. In this scenario, I didn't have it in hand, but in the tournament, I had it in hand. And then I digivolved it, unsuspended, and swung for game. And that was one of the craziest things that I've ever done in any card game. And oh my goodness, this deck is fantastic. But ladies and gentlemen, that's the end of the deck profile. I really appreciate you guys sticking out for the long one. Yeah, if you're able to get all the cards, take this to your locals, and you'll definitely do fantastic with it. But yeah, like I mentioned at the start of the video, my name is Zay. I am the Digimon expert on the TCG channel. And let me remind you guys to like this video, subscribe, share it with your friends. Also leave a comment about how much you enjoy this deck. And yeah, peace.